Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. We would like you to introduce yourself, as you may know so many Gambians may not know, but we want to know who is the French ambassador for Gambia.
My pleasure, yes. So I'm the French ambassador to the Gambia and to Senegal since June 2016. I presented my credentials to President Adama Barrow right after he was sworn in, and had the pleasure to have meetings with him earlier on after the elections of December. And then we had this very, very useful trip to France in March 2017. I think it was the first visit besides Senegal from President Barrow to Europe, and they had a lot of meetings, and this provided with the basis of, let's say, the support of France to the new Gambia, whether it's about training, whether it's about development, whether it's about culture or education.
Now, before going into all that, what will you tell me about the relationship between these two countries? What is the state of relationship between Gambia and France?
Well, I think, it was basically rather low during Jammeh time, and as there was this democratic revolution here, this new Gambia, we decided to re-involve ourselves, to reopen the diplomatic antenna, to support transitional justice, to include the Gambia into the core of the 19 countries we are helping around the world in terms of assistance. So we decided to be very much involved for a very simple reason. I mean, democracy in itself has been a revolution for the Gambia, but the very fact that you've been able to get from dictatorship to democracy through a very peaceful election is a message for the Gambians. And I heard it once more this morning, never again, but also a message through Western Africa, through Africa, and all over the world. So this message is a very important one, and we decided to support it with all our strength. And this was the purpose of the policy we have been implementing since then with our friends here in Gambia in a very close partnership.
Now let's talk about the democracy. It's new. Most of the half of the population where don't know democracy in practice. So what will be French contribution in ensuring that we have a stable democracy in this country?
Well, democracy is basically about citizens. So, I mean, it would be really arrogant from me to say that we can do more than just, providing here and there some kind of expertise and support.
Yeah, that's what I mean in that aspect.
So, for example, if you talk about the issue of this commission for truth, reconciliation and reparations, where we did support the wish of the Minister of Justice to organize some workshops, to provide with some expertise, because this is a very sensitive, delicate, but also technical issue, and this is one example. In terms of democracy, I've had several meetings with the head of the parliament, the speaker, so that we want, to kind of create interparliamentary cooperation, because obviously parliament is one of the bases of democracy. We've been inviting several Gambians to our program in France. They can be lawyers, for example. This is also because, democracy is not about electing one day someone. It's a continuous process, and definitely you need to have lawyers, you need to have the law, and in all this direction we are trying to work. So with the help, for example, of the French Alliance on Serenkunda, I think we are providing some trainings of judges, as we are also training some people from the army, as we are also providing some general education for the French school.
Now, the relationship between France and Gambia was not cordial during Jammeh's time, but now that we have seen a new dispensation, when are we going to see a new French embassy, an ambassador for Gambia, instead of relying on ambassador to Senegal accredited to the Gambia?
Well, I think this is a valid point, but it seems that you are missing the fact that we close our diplomatic antenna here in 2013, and what we have just decided is to reopen the diplomatic antenna, first element, and the second element is that we have just appointed at the head of this diplomatic antenna, Joël Godot, who is a good friend and who has been previously ambassador to Liberia, for example. So I think your point is well taken, but we are moving into that direction. And if you see the diplomatic antenna, we have just opened in Bacao. It's quite a nice place, and there is room for more than one people to enlarge our sectors of activities. But don't be misunderstood, it's diplomatic antenna is one element, but the issue is to cover a large spectrum. We can talk about, cooperation into the security field, into military issues. When you have, for example, Navy making a stop here at the harbor of Banjul, you have some kind of cooperation with the Gambian Navy. This is important also to protect your water territories. And we also look into other directions, for example, education. The primary focus, of the French alliance, French-Gambian alliance, is education. And what we have just done is that we are going, I think it will be in February, we are opening the school within the alliance. So, we had a school which was a bit, which needed to be completely refurbished. We decided to build a new school that will be in Serekunda in the perimeter of the alliance. So, just flagging a few examples to say, diplomacy is not about just having a diplomat here and there, it's to act and to go ahead. For example, when we had this important conference, 22nd of May, in Brussels, about funding the development of Gambia, we made an important pledge, 50 million euros. I think it was the most important pledge in terms of bilateral assistance. So this is really a change, because we were coming from a situation where the relationship was, let's say, really distanciated. So this has been done in, 1 year, 1 year and a half, and I hope there will be some more in the upcoming months and years.
On the security sector as well, we understand that, and there's a word going around that is the French are the ones supporting or kind of paying the Senegalese gendarmerie that is providing the security in the Gambia. Is that true? And if so, how long will you continue to continue with that?
What you have is that European Union, to my knowledge, is providing some funds to ECOWAS, and that's one element. The second element is Senegalese, through an agreement with the Gambians, have some people here to support your security. We do not finance, this is a Senegalese decision, but what we do is we do have some kind of common exercise that we try to enlarge as much as possible to Senegalese, to Gambians, and to other countries in the region. You may know we have in Dakar 350 soldiers, and their mission is to increase the cooperation with around 16 countries in West Africa. And we've included Gambia in this scope. It was not the case before. Before there was no substance to military cooperation. Now there's a lot of substance, because democracy is a very fragile situation. You need to keep it, and to keep it you need also a very good security. You need stability. So this has to be looked at.
Barrow has been in office nearly 2 years. What do you make of his administration?
Well, I think taking from where you've been in a very dire situation. I remember when I came here the first time, I think it was in November 2016, I think there has been quite a change. In the field of democracy, it seems that as simple as this, fear has disappeared. And you've been familiar now to the exercise of your freedom. There's much more, of course, coming on. I understand, in particular, when you look at the topic of the Commission, Truth and Reconciliation and Reparation, because you need to fight any feeling of impunity, but without any kind of revenge. I think it was said very clearly this morning, both by the Minister of Justice and by the head of this commission. So I think it's quite impressive at this stage what we have seen. Of course, you still have, difficulties that needs to be looked at with the one who owns some Gambian debt. I think this is a major issue. In France, we have what we call the Club de Paris, which is a club of people owning debt and try to manage this debt to help the countries. So we are trying to do as much as possible with the Minister of Finance. I met with him very recently. Among the assistance we decided to provide the 22nd of May, there is some money allocated to help the management of the debt, which I think is a very key issue if you want to have some the necessary means to achieve all the priorities.
Which areas will you recommend for government to work on and improve on?
Well, I don't think I'm here really to recommend,
I
to
know,
provide lessons and to... no, it's not just as a diplomat,
Yes,
I don't have first of all, I do not live here.
Yeah, you live
And second, I live in Dakar. And second, I don't think it's really appropriate. Yeah. Maybe this was done before, but I don't think it's really appropriate. I mean, you are working together, we are working with the Gambian authorities, trying to help them to support their program of development. And what I know is on these issues, you need time.
Yeah.
You need a lot of time to see the change, which of course the population is looking forward for.
At a donor conference, pledges were made, and as France part of EU, how soon will we see these funds coming to the Gambia?
Well, I will try to do it as quickly as possible. I can talk about because there is European assistance, and as you can think about, we are with a few other countries one of the main provider to the European budget. So we're looking at this in a very careful way, and we think it's necessary to be as expeditious as possible. At the same time, there is also bilateral French help to the Gambia. On that side, it's our own responsibility, and there have been several missions of experts who have already been sent here to Banjul. And in technical terms, we already provided what is called the aide-mémoire to the Ministry of Finance. And I think on that basis, I hope we'll be able to provide some of the pledge by the end of this year. Other part of the pledge is related to projects in the field of agriculture, in the field of water in cities. This takes some time. It cannot be done just like this. But we are trying to do it as fast as possible and try to minimize the level of procedures.
What interest does France have in the Gambia, keeping in mind that Gambia is an Anglophone country?
Well, not entirely true. I'm sure you have noticed that it was what, 3 days ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
No.
Gambia joined as the Francophone as an observer, you mean?
It was, it's not 3 days, it's 4 days ago, maybe last Thursday, let's put it like this. Gambia was admitted as an observer status of the Francophonia movement.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So,
it was at the parliament before.
So first of all, it means that the Gambia has asked for such a status, and second, it means that the French-speaking countries think thought, because it was 4 days ago, that it was relevant.
Yeah.
And it is relevant, because what I see from the Gambia is, yes, of course, you are an English-speaking country, no doubt about this. But at the same time, there's a lot of Gambian citizen authorities who do speak French, whether they learn French at school, whether they speak French with their relatives that may be in Senegal, in Mali, in Guinea, or for any other reasons. Some of them also have a Senegalese background. And so what I see is, I can say that there are more French-speaking people here in the Gambia than in some other countries who do represent themselves as French-speaking. So, I am quite impressive. Maybe also the French school has been there for quite some time. The Gambian and French alliance have been quite effective also. Just to flag an example, the Minister of Foreign Affairs was, not so long ago, the chairman of the Alliance Committee. And I had a conversation this morning. He speaks perfect French.
Yeah, he did. So at what level will Gambia's France relationship be in few years to come?
Well, it's a relationship, so it depends on the partners. I think there are a lot of possibilities. If you take, for example, the education field, we are supporting a lot of universities and students in Senegal. I don't see any reason why we could not be open here in Banjul. We could, for example, have a Campus France, which is the entity that helps students to go to France. Campus France could open, for example, in the Alliance. That's one example. Yeah. If you think in the field of economy, I've led several times, delegation of companies which are established in Dakar, telling them why not invest here in Banjul. But I think it's going in the right direction. But there's more to come. We don't. Maybe we'll have other important visits in the upcoming months and years. Maybe a French minister could come here to the Gambia. But I'm always, happy and enjoy that the level of support I get in Paris when I say, well, let's do this or this for the Gambian people. I mean, they are usually very, very much supportive within the perimeter of our budgetary constraints. We do have also budgetary constraints.
Okay. So I don't want to keep you much. So finally, what will be your message?
Well, the message, I think, is there's a very strong support, I think, outside for this new Gambia, because this new Gambia is about the Gambians, but it's about also, the success of democracy. Yeah. And I think West Africa is quite a model compared to other parts of Africa in the field of democracy. It needs also to be quite a model in the field of economy. So we need to support that development. The more jobs that could be created here, the more assistance can be provided to the Gambia, I think the more success you can get. I think it will also, strengthen your democracy. It's two pillars, development and democracy. So I'm glad to be here. It's not my first time to the Gambia. I think I've been there, more than 7 or 8 times. I'm trying also not to be only in Banjul. I think it's important, because I see this also sometimes in Dakar. You need really to know the territory. That's why I've been to Farafeni or to Janjanbureh. I've been here by the road, from the north, from the south. So not only, a kind of 24-hour trip by airplane. No, that's not my type.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Enjoy.
You. Right.
Voilà.